Hi everyone, David Vance speaking here. To preface this video, I want to say that people like me and Susan Caswell, we had cancer, yes, I lymphoma, Susan ovarian. So we're speaking from experience. These are our stories, and not to stink on cancer, but in our situations, tinnitus and hyperacusis have been far, far worse. Cancer is horrible, we all know that. It takes lives. But so does this, sadly, as suicides are a frequent climax to tinnitus and hyperacusis. Hiding in a room for decades doesn't sound like living, does it? They're like a flicker casting its shadows on a distant wall never seen. Their light has mostly fizzed out, but that's what hiding does. They've become allergic to sound and have to. It's not a choice or way of life. And as you hear our stories, I'll explain that further. We contrast our life with cancer to tinnitus and hyperacusis to educate humanity because they know cancer's awful. But they often have trouble understanding why these ear conditions would be. Susan, I, and many others, we've all been belittled to a degree and shooed away by some of the people we know. Well, hopefully our tragic stories changed their points of view, if only serving to foster a seed for future understanding. Hopefully it grows. Tinnitus and hyperacusis desperately need treatments and someday that holy grail cure. People need to understand the gravity of these conditions, and that is our goal. So to share my story, I went from working as a musician and in fine dining hospitality to hiding in my room 24/7. My tinnitus is what's commonly called reactive tinnitus. That means in the presence of sound, the tinnitus worsens, even to normal everyday sounds. It's like I have a beehive on steroids stuck in my ears, so many tones whirling. Some might say, well, that's a nuisance, right? Just push through, brother, conquer it. Well, here's the thing, you can't. Because the thing about it is that exposing to these normal, simple sounds will worsen the condition permanently too for people as myself, even if we're wearing hearing protection, the most heavy-duty stuff, earmuffs and earplugs. And not to mention the pain hyperacusis. With almost every sound, I feel burning and knife-like cuts to the inner ears, and no exaggeration, and again, exposing worsens. I need quiet or I'm pretty much screwed. But it's a loud, loud world that really is not quiet that much at all. So what does this mean then? Well, if you think about life, what is life? Sound. It's lots of things, yes. But all those things are sound. Talking, cooking, hygiene, driving down a roadway. Everything we do, noise is the world. So the person in this situation has to hide from sound, has to hide from life, and everything is gone. I thank God I can still talk to a degree. Many people can't. But the list of things I can't do stretches far from here to the moon's surface. It's insane. I think about my journey with lymphoma and I know how bad it was. Cancer is just bloody awful. But if that's a raging nuisance, then what I got now is absolute inhumane itself. This is just the worst thing. I made a list, in fact, citing the things with cancer that were much easier to do before having tinnitus and hyperacusis. I was able to go to social functions with no problem. Had amazing relationships with everyone around me, now some of the closest family members, and I barely talk anymore. And with some of them, we don't talk at all because of me having breakdowns, because my symptoms are so severe, and it's not my fault, not one bit. With cancer, I could make my own phone calls with no issues, could take a shower and bathe without worrying about the running water causing me a setback and pain. I had a lot more support, empathy, and compassion from everyone around me. A friend even threw a fundraising club event to help. I performed on stage, rapping my heart out. But with these ear conditions, I could never do those things, not even close. With lymphoma, I can go to the coffee shop, get a hot beverage, walk down the street with my headphones on, listening to the music that I absolutely enjoy while going to work. This was what I loved out of everything in life. It was my perfect part and the best part of the day. I was still able to work at a physical job, so after my treatments for a short while until the auditory symptoms kicked in, 3 months later, I continued working for another 9 months in the quietest part of the restaurant at the host stand until I could not handle it anymore. I pushed through the pain, and it was the worst thing that I absolutely did. With cancer, I was 90% fully independent. Today, I can barely even make it to the grocery store, a 5-minute walk away without being in suicidal pain from everyday noise. Also, with cancer, I had a laid out plan of my life still, with hope in the driver's seat. My oncologist told me I had an 80% chance of living healthy still. My plan was to travel the world, working at different fine dining hospitality establishments, meeting my soulmate along the way, traveling the world, working together, maybe buying a house together, then starting our own family. But everything is smashed now because I have these conditions, and at the present time, they are incurable. Back then, I could easily look for a new residence on my own. Now I can barely travel to make it happen. It's just unbelievable how these ear conditions have destroyed my well-being, and it's something the world needs to know, that ears can really do this. Another person who's in similar shoes to me is Susan Caswell of England. And God bless Susan, she's a real fighter, one of the strongest souls I know. At 67, she's condemned to bed with raging tinnitus, reacting to every sound, big and small, under the sun. It's as loud as a fire truck, she says, and has 7 different tones, a crazed cacophony. If she tries to take in noises, it worsens her conditions. That's because she also has hyperacusis. So everything is 50 times louder in perception, basically causing major discomfort. She hasn't even been able to bathe or brush her teeth in 6 years. That's how bad she is suffering. She tried and it worsened her. Can you imagine that? Never bathing or brushing your teeth for 6 years? It's absolutely inhumane, and people need to know about this. Years ago, she had suffered cancer's wrath, defeating it for good, ovarian, the cancer. But she says her current battles with tinnitus and hyperacusis are 100 times harder, and that her cancer restrictions had paled by comparison. When she had dealt with cancer, she was still living life, still doing things like I did myself, still a social flourisher. But now she's hiding in a room. She lost her job, boarding dogs in which she loved. Her hobbies, entertainment like dancing, hiking, eating out, and even eating at her house. Eating causes horrid pain, so she only eats the softer stuff. She can barely see her partner named Malcolm either. They've been together for over 40 years, but now she sees him sparingly, bonding very little and never talking anymore. And that is the heart of hyperacusis. That is what it is, the loneliest condition. It's definitely what it is. Please spread this word around. We want to educate humanity. To make a mark for change, we need a serious revolution. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our stories. Hopefully I have been an help, any kind of help in any way. And if you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant day today.